Sarah gasped, feeling as if she had completely lost control of what was happening. She looked through the window, where the fabric of space was warping and breaking apart, as if being torn by an invisible force. "We need to speed this up," Mark shouted, though his mind was also filled with worry. It felt like they were being swept into a strange cosmic current, where time and space no longer followed conventional rules. The lunar odyssey trembled violently, and each passing second felt like a century, as the ship plunged into an entirely new region of space. Suddenly, the ship's radar displayed a signal, not from the outside, but from within this very space. "What is that?" Sarah exclaimed as a strange image appeared on the screen, a circular, glowing space gate. "Something is waiting for us there," Dr. Lee said, staring at the signal. "That might be where we need to go." Mark closed his eyes. "Then that's our destination. Once again, we have no other choice." The lunar odyssey hurtled toward the glowing gateway. The light from it was so intense that it filled the entire cabin, making everything seem surreal and dreamlike. Sarah squinted at the navigation screen. "We're getting close. Everyone, hold on." Ethan tightened his safety harness, his heart pounding. "We have no idea what's on the other side." Mark took a deep breath. "We've come too far to turn back now." Dr. Lee adjusted the tracking system. "I'm recording all the data. If anything happens, we need to know how to get back." The moment the ship touched the gateway, a massive surge of energy swept through it, and everything went black. A strange signal began to grow clearer. It wasn't a sound but a form of conscious waves, slipping into their minds. A voice echoed inside their heads, not in any language they knew, yet somehow, they understood. "You do not belong here." Sarah shuddered, trying to stay calm. "We're just trying to find our way home." The signal continued. "There is no way back. You have crossed the forbidden gate. Your fate has now changed." Mark gritted his teeth. "Then who are you?" A long silence followed before the voice spoke again, this time slower. "We are the guardians of the boundary between realities. And you have broken the rule." The group fell silent. Those words felt like an irreversible judgment. Sarah swallowed hard. "We didn't do it on purpose. We're just trying to return to Earth." The mysterious voice echoed in their minds. "Earth. Your world is no longer the same. You changed it the moment you stepped through this gate." Ethan glanced at the screen, where the data continued to fluctuate wildly. "What does that mean? What have we done? Your existence here has disrupted the balance of the universe. An event is coming, and you cannot escape it." Dr. Lee struggled to analyze the signal, but the numbers made no sense. She turned to Mark, her eyes filled with concern. "We can't tell if they are friends or enemies." Mark clenched the controls. "We don't have a choice. If they won't help us, we'll find our own way out." Suddenly, the lunar odyssey trembled violently. An invisible force began pulling them toward a point of light in this strange universe. "What's happening?" Sarah screamed. "We're being transported," Dr. Lee shouted as the ship plunged into the blinding light. As the light faded, they found themselves floating in orbit around an unknown planet. Its surface gleamed like silver, with rivers of light winding through it like silk. There was no atmosphere like Earth's, yet the planet radiated a powerful, living energy. Sarah examined the data. "No signs of life, but this planet is not dead." Ethan frowned. "Something is moving beneath the surface." At that moment, a massive structure slowly rose from the planet's depths. It was a towering, jet-black metallic construct, glowing with indecipherable symbols. Mark stared. Someone was here, or still is. Suddenly, the mysterious voice spoke again. "This is where you will face the truth. Enter, if you dare." The lunar odyssey's landing bay opened. The team cautiously stepped onto the strange metallic surface. As they approached the colossal structure, a circular door appeared before them. The glowing symbols on it shifted, as if observing them. Sarah touched the door lightly. It vibrated. "This door recognizes us," Dr. Lee murmured. Suddenly, the door slid open, revealing a dark tunnel within. Ethan took a deep breath. "Do we really want to go in there?" Mark looked at the group. "We've come too far. There's no turning back now." And so, they stepped through the fateful door, ready to face the truth that awaited them inside. The team entered a vast tunnel, its walls glowing faintly. The air inside was eerily cool, despite the absence of any ventilation systems or signs of life. Dr. Lee ran her fingers along the metallic walls, surprised when they reacted to her touch, sending ripples of light across their surface. "This structure might be alive," she whispered. Sarah checked the signals. "We still aren't receiving anything from outside." Suddenly, a sharp click sounded behind them. The door had shut. Ethan turned back and tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. "We're trapped." Before them, an endless corridor led to a massive gateway covered in glowing symbols. But this time, the symbols were no longer foreign. They were in English. Sarah read aloud. "Your journey has reached its end. Destiny awaits." Mark clenched his jaw. Someone set this up for us. With no other choice, they moved forward. The gateway opened, revealing an enormous chamber. At its center floated a radiant sphere, swirling with thousands of luminous strands of energy. Dr. Lee analyzed her instruments. "This isn't just a machine, it's a living data core." Suddenly, the familiar voice echoed again. "You have come this far. Now, learn the truth." Images materialized in the air, like a three-dimensional film playing before them. They saw Earth, but not as they knew it. It was Earth from millions of years ago. They saw strange beings, not humans, but highly intelligent creatures that once ruled the planet before mankind emerged. "We were not the first civilization on Earth," Dr. Lee whispered. The voice continued. "They advanced far beyond humanity's current limits. But in the end, they perished. Why, you will soon understand." The images changed, this time, showing a gateway identical to the one they had stepped through. Ethan clenched his fists. They opened the gate too. Mark frowned. And that's what led to their downfall. The final image appeared, a cosmic catastrophe, an immense force from beyond space pouring into Earth, engulfing the ancient civilization in fire and darkness. And then, the voice delivered its final message. "History is about to repeat itself." Silence. Sarah shook her head. "If what we just saw is true, humanity is facing a threat we've never known before." Dr. Lee trembled. "If that gate brought disaster to the previous civilization, are we making the same mistake?" Ethan clenched his fists. "We can stop it." Mark turned to the glowing sphere. "The question is, what do we do now?" The voice spoke one last time. "Two paths lie before you. One, destroy the gate, sealing away all danger, but losing the chance to explore the universe. Two, keep it open, embracing the risk to uncover what humanity has never known." The team exchanged glances, knowing that whatever they chose would shape the fate of mankind forever. Mark took a deep breath. "We have to decide now." Silence hung thick in the air. And then, they made their choice. The first step into a new era. The group stood at the threshold between two worlds. The gate was open, shimmering with light from a distant planet on the other side. "Are we really going to do this?" Sarah asked, her voice a mix of excitement and worry. Ethan nodded. "We've come this far. This is the moment that will change history." Mark checked the communication equipment, but the signal was still unstable. "Be careful. We don't know what's waiting for us on the other side." Dr. Lee stepped forward, lightly touching the edge of the gate. "This surface is unlike anything we've seen. It's almost like the form of flexible matter." Sarah bit her lip, then took a deep breath. "I'll go first." Before anyone could react, she stepped through the gate. Immediately, she vanished. The group held their breath. 1 second. 2 seconds. Then suddenly, Sarah's voice came through the intercom. Everyone. I'm okay. You have to see this. Mark looked at Ethan and Dr. Lee, then without hesitation, stepped through. As the light around him faded, Mark realized he was standing on a vast field, the sky tinted purple-blue, with 2 suns hanging high above. Sarah pointed ahead. Look over there. The group turned around, and froze. In front of them stood a massive city, with towering structures like crystal spires, glowing gently in the twilight. But what shocked them the most were the figures moving among the city. Creatures that did not belong to Earth. They had found an alien civilization. Mark, Sarah, Ethan, and Dr. Lee stood motionless, overwhelmed by the sight before them. The city shimmered with light, its crystal towers, floating roads in the sky, and streams of energy flowing like rivers on the ground. But even more astonishing were the inhabitants of this place. They were taller than humans, with softly glowing skin and eyes as deep as the galaxy itself. They moved silently, yet seemed aware of the explorer's presence. Ethan swallowed hard. We are truly standing before an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. Sarah observed quietly. But are they friend or foe? Dr. Lee raised the biological scanner. Their energy is unlike anything we've seen. Their biological structure might be based on an element entirely different from carbon. Suddenly, one of the alien beings approached. The group tensed, ready to react if danger arose. But instead of attacking, the creature raised its hand, and immediately, images appeared in the air, like a form of telepathic communication. The first image, they saw Earth. The second image, they saw the gate they had just crossed. The final image, a massive darkness spreading through the universe. Dr. Lee held his breath. They know about us, and they are trying to warn us about something. The alien being continued to transmit images. The images blinked rapidly, forming a strange story that the explorers had to piece together. Image 1. A powerful civilization advancing rapidly, conquering the universe. Image 2. A dark entity emerging from another dimension. Image 3. The alien city burning, its civilization nearly destroyed. Mark clenched his fist. They faced a threat, and they lost. Sarah swallowed hard. But if that's the case, why are they still here? They weren't completely wiped out. The alien being showed the final image, the gate on the moon. Dr. Lee's eyes widened. That's our gate. Ethan gritted his teeth. We opened it, but maybe we shouldn't have. Suddenly, the city shook. A low rumble echoed from the distant sky. Sarah spun around. Something's coming. Mark gave the command. We need to get back, now. But it was too late. The darkness had found them. The air turned cold. In the distant sky, a massive crack appeared, as if the very fabric of the universe was being torn apart. From it, the darkness poured, swirling like a cosmic storm. Sarah gripped her weapon, sweat dripping down her forehead. We need to leave, now. Dr. Lee checked the energy scanner. It's emitting an unknown form of radiation. If we stay too long, we could be affected. The alien beings were also panicked. They began creating energy shields, but the darkness devoured them all. Mark looked up at the sky. It's not just a being. It's a pure form of destruction. Ethan shouted, run. The group rushed, trying to make their way back to the gate. But the darkness was chasing them, faster than anything they'd ever seen. A dark energy vortex shot down from above, nearly engulfing Sarah. Watch out. Mark lunged forward, pulling her out of its path. Dr. Lee saw an alien being touched by the darkness. Its body immediately disintegrated, vanishing into nothingness. Ethan gritted his teeth. It doesn't kill us. It erases us from existence. Sarah screamed, the gate's ahead. But just as they were about to reach it, the darkness blocked their way. A voice echoed in their heads, cold, infinite. You have opened a door that should not be opened. Mark clenched his weapon. We didn't come here to destroy. We just want to learn the truth. There is no truth anymore. Only the end. The group was surrounded. The thick darkness enveloped them from all sides, with only one escape left, the gate leading back to the moon. Ethan shouted, "We have to close it as soon as we get through. Otherwise, it'll follow us back to Earth." Sarah bit her lip. "But if we close it, we might lose our chance to come back here." Dr. Lee said seriously, "There's no other choice. If this thing gets to Earth, it'll wipe out the planet." Mark looked at the nearest alien being. "Can you help us?" The alien looked at them for a long moment, then raised its hand. A powerful beam of light shot out, forming a protective shield around the group. "Go. We'll hold it back." The darkness roared, fiercer than ever. Mark clenched his fist. "Thank you." The group rushed through the gate just as the shield collapsed. They tumbled back to the moon's surface. Sarah shakily entered the code to close the gate. The gate slowly shrank, but the darkness was closing in. Only a few seconds left. Dr. Lee shouted, "Close it now." A blinding flash of light erupted, and then, the gate disappeared. Space fell silent once again. Ethan collapsed on the ground, gasping for breath. "Did we make it?" Mark looked up at the sky. "For now. But we don't know if it can come back." Sarah clenched her fist. "And if it does, we have to be ready." The group lay motionless on the moon's surface, their chests heaving with exhaustion. The gate had vanished. There was no trace of the darkness, but the chilling feeling still haunted them. Ethan sat up first, looking around. "We really closed it, but I still don't feel safe." Dr. Lee checked the equipment. "The strange radiation is gone, but we can't be sure the threat is completely over." Sarah rubbed her face, her voice dry. "At least it didn't follow us back to Earth." Mark stood up, his gaze still fixed on the distant sky. "But we lost the chance to learn more about that alien civilization." A heavy silence filled the air. They had saved Earth, but at what cost? Sarah sighed. "Anyway, our mission is complete. We need to leave." Mark nodded, pressing the communication device. "Houston, this is Lunar Odyssey. We've closed the gate, and are ready to return." A few seconds passed, and then a familiar voice came from Earth's control center. "Lunar Odyssey, we've received your signal. Prepare for the journey home." Ethan smiled in relief. "Time to leave this place." The group boarded the spacecraft, preparing for the flight back from the moon. But just before the door closed, Sarah looked back at the desolate surface behind. And she saw a small crack in the ground. The crack was still glowing. Sarah froze. The light from that small crack was faint, almost imperceptible unless observed closely. But it was still there. The darkness had not completely disappeared. She swallowed hard and turned to Mark. "Look, it's still there." Mark knelt down, scanning the ground with the scanner. "The radiation is extremely low, but it's still emitting a signal." Ethan frowned. "You mean the gate isn't completely closed?" Dr. Lee checked the data. "No, the gate is destroyed. But it seems something remains. An extraterrestrial energy." Mark contacted Houston. "Houston, we have a new discovery. A strange energy trace is still present on the moon." The control center was silent for a moment, then the commander's voice came through. "Can you determine if it's dangerous?" Sarah shook her head. "We can't be sure yet." Ethan gritted his teeth. "I don't like this. If it's the remnants of that darkness, then one day, it might come back." Mark thought for a moment, then gave the order. "We'll mark this spot, and send the data back to NASA. But for now, we need to leave." Sarah looked at the crack one last time. Small as it was still a warning. The battle might have ended, but the threat had not. As the Lunar Odyssey ship left the moon's orbit, the group looked back at the gray planet through the ship's window. The faint light from the crack on the ground still lingered in their minds, a reminder of a danger that hadn't finished yet. The cosmic sky ahead of them became quiet again, as if nothing had happened. But that feeling could not erase the worry within each of them. Is this the end? Sarah asked, her voice full of contemplation. Mark didn't answer immediately. He looked at the control panel, checking all the parameters again. Even though the gate was closed, even though they had made the right decision, he still couldn't shake the fear of the darkness still lurking somewhere in space. We did the right thing, he said firmly. We protected Earth, but we also need to be prepared for whatever comes next. What's important now is reporting back to NASA, and getting ready for any recurrence of the threat. Ethan still couldn't shake the sense of unease. That crack isn't just a sign, Mark. It's a warning. That darkness, we've only scratched the surface of it. I understand, Mark replied, looking out the window. But we won't let it destroy everything. If it comes back, we'll be ready. What does that mean? Dr. Lee asked. What can we do besides prepare? Sarah stood in silence for a moment, then stood up. We have discovered an alien civilization, we have seen the destruction they faced. Now it's time to learn from their mistakes, so that we don't have to pay the price with our entire planet. The group fell silent. Mixed emotions, between trust and fear, filled the space of the ship. Although their mission was complete, perhaps, the real battle was only just beginning. The ship flew through space, heading toward Earth, where they would be welcomed. But in their minds, there was one thing they couldn't ignore. The threat was not over. The lunar odyssey gently returned to Earth's orbit. The light from the blue sky was a comfort, but in their hearts, the anxiety could not be wiped away. We did the right thing, Mark said, his voice deep, but still carrying a hint of hesitation. But we can't forget that there's something out there that we don't fully understand. Sarah stood by the window, gazing down at the vast blue planet below. That's what scares me, she sighed. If it comes back, we won't be fully prepared. Ethan sat down, eyes focused on the data collected during the journey. I still feel something's wrong. That crack, it wasn't random. Maybe we've touched something bigger than we thought. Mark nodded and turned to Dr. Lee. We need a backup plan. Dr. Lee did not respond immediately. She stood in silence as if reflecting on all that they had experienced. Finally, she spoke. We've uncovered a lot, but we don't fully understand everything. The threat from the darkness isn't just an open door, it's an existence silently waiting. The ship began to move closer to Earth. The group decided that after they returned, they would continue their lives, but they knew that no matter how much they might hide under the shadow of space, the threat would always remain. After returning to Earth, the group was immediately taken to a special isolation area of NASA, where they would face experts and senior commanders. The team sat in a conference room, where the dim light of technical equipment shone down. The situation is not good, the commander said, looking at the screen in front of him. Despite sealing the gate, there are signs that the darkness might still exist. Sarah stood up, her voice full of determination. What do we need to do to prepare for its return? We can't keep living in fear. Some NASA staff began discussing technological solutions that could help prevent the threat. We could deploy stronger defense systems, but it seems that this darkness isn't something that can be easily destroyed. Mark suddenly spoke up. If we can't destroy it, at least we need to understand it. There must be some way for us to control it. Ethan raised an eyebrow. So what will we do? Try again and face it. Not face it immediately, Mark replied. We need to research, to prepare properly before acting. The group decided that further research into alien energy and the darkness would be their top priority. Along with scientists and experts from NASA, they began planning to build a secret project in preparation for another confrontation. Everything had changed since their return to Earth. They were no longer just people on a routine scientific mission. Now, they were the protectors of the planet against a threat they couldn't fully understand. The group decided to come together and build a special force to study and prevent any dangers from space. They would spend the rest of their lives searching for ways to protect Earth, while also dealing with alien entities they had never imagined. This war isn't over, Mark said as he gazed up at the night sky, the light from Earth reflecting in his eyes. But we will always be ready. We've awakened something beyond human understanding. And we will face it. The door opened, and a new secret project began. The story does not end here. NASA's secret project began with a group of elite scientists and space experts. They were carefully selected from all over the world, with one goal in mind: to research the strange phenomena the exploration team encountered during their mission on the Moon. Mark, Sarah, Ethan, and Dr. Lee became the leaders of this project. They had not only undergone an off-world mission, but had also faced a threat humanity had never encountered before. In the meeting room, the bulletin board was filled with images from the Moon and strange energy data collected by the team. Sarah focused on the screen. We can't just stop at analysis. We need to understand the origin of this energy. It could be life, or it could be a form of information. Ethan nodded. We saw it evolve in space. Maybe it's just evolving, or maybe it's trying to communicate. Mark said seriously, we can't ignore the potential danger. Are we creating another threat for ourselves? The team agreed that they could not rely solely on their current knowledge, but needed to explore advanced technologies to ensure they could deal with any threats. The scientists began planning experiments with the alien materials the team had collected from the Moon. Each step brought them closer to a turning point in the battle against the darkness. The group's life was no longer the same. They were no longer just ordinary explorers, but now, they were the guardians of the planet, bearing a great responsibility. However, the deeper they researched, the more they realized that there were very few clear truths about the origin of the strange energy they had encountered. One day, in a team meeting, Dr. Lee proposed a shocking theory. Maybe we were wrong to think of this as a danger. Perhaps it isn't an enemy, but a form of life trying to reach out to us. Sarah stared at Dr. Lee, her eyes wide in surprise. You mean, maybe it wants to communicate with us? Dr. Lee nodded. Yes. We saw signs of it on the Moon. It didn't attack us, it was just an ambiguous energy source. And it may very well be trying to make contact. Ethan sighed. But if that's true, why would it leave such strange and frightening signs? That's an important question, Dr. Lee admitted. Maybe we don't understand its language. Or maybe we're looking at it through a wrong lens. Mark looked out the window, where the light from Earth shone down, causing his mind to drift into a distant vision. We will have to change our approach. We can no longer view it as a threat. We need to communicate. The group decided to begin experimenting with communicating with the alien energy, using advanced technology to create an environment for transmitting a message. But in their hearts, there was still a big question: could they understand that message, and would it be safe? The new journey had begun. With renewed determination, the research team began developing communication technology with the alien energy they had gathered from the Moon. Everyone realized that this wasn't just an ordinary scientific experiment. It was a confrontation with something unprecedented. Dr. Lee, leading the research team, had developed an electromagnetic wave system capable of creating communication frequencies with the strange energy. The project was named Project Link, with the hope that it might open a door between humanity and beings from the universe. If we can understand how this energy works, we can establish a safe link, Dr. Lee said in a meeting. However, it's important that we do not take this lightly. Our understanding of these alien entities is still very limited. Sarah carefully asked, could it be that we won't receive a direct message from it, but just silent reactions? A form of communication we're not familiar with. Ethan nodded. Or maybe it's testing ways to communicate. We need to observe carefully. The team agreed that listening and observing carefully would be key. They had everything ready for the first experiment. A dark space was created, with the communication system programmed and ready to receive strange electromagnetic waves from the alien energy. When the system was activated, a massive wave of energy began to cover the research space. At this moment, a strange phenomenon appeared on the computer screen: sparkling images, lines of unreadable characters, but carrying a peculiar vibration. This is the first step, Mark said, eyes focused on the screen. We've started receiving signals. The next day, the research team continued to monitor the signals from the alien energy. Although there was no clear message, the changes in the wave patterns and frequencies were becoming more complex and harder to understand. This made them more cautious than ever before, because even though there were clear signals, they could not be sure if it was a friendly sign or a potential danger. Dr. Lee spent most of her time analyzing these wave patterns and signals. One day, while checking the data, she suddenly stopped. "Look at this," she said, eyes wide. "There's a repeating wave pattern in the data, a form of coding." "Coding?" Ethan asked, moving closer to the screen. "Like a message?" "Yes," Dr. Lee confirmed. "Although we can't decode everything, it's clear that this is a code. It's not random." Mark stepped up and looked at the screen. "So we've found the first step. We need to decode it." However, even though the research team had made significant progress in decoding the signals, they couldn't ignore the growing unease in each of their hearts. If this message was really a call from another civilization, were they ready to face the unknown truth about the world out there? "We can't stop," Mark said, his voice determined. "No matter what, we must continue." But in that moment, a great doubt grew in his mind. What if this wasn't a call for peace, but a warning signal? The research team continued their relentless efforts to decode the mysterious signals. As each day passed, the strange energy waves they received became more complex and harder to predict. However, the signal not only contained encrypted patterns, but also emitted special waveforms, which could be an invitation or a warning. Sarah was the first to notice a pattern in the signals. "We've found a rhythm," she said, pointing at the screen. "These waves have a definite cycle. This could be a way of communication." Mark turned around, eyes fixed. "So, we're not just facing random energy, but a form of language, right?" Dr. Lee nodded. "Exactly. This could be their form of communication. We need to decode it fully to understand who we're communicating with." Ethan furrowed his brows. "This could get very complicated, but we have to do something." The team unanimously decided to use NASA's most powerful computer to analyze the signals. They immediately created a tool to help convert the strange energy waves into more understandable signals. This process was time-consuming and challenging, but with the belief that they were on the brink of a monumental breakthrough in human history, they pressed on without hesitation. Finally, after many hours of diligent work, a message began to appear on the screen: "We are the observers. We come from a distant place. We have seen you." The team fell silent, no one saying a word. They had received their first message from an extraterrestrial civilization. A mixture of fear and excitement filled their hearts. The message was clear: "We are the observers." This raised many questions about the nature of these beings. Did they truly only want to observe humans, or was there a larger purpose awaiting? Dr. Lee began analyzing the message again. "Do you see? The last part, 'We have seen you,' might suggest that they've been watching our planet for a long time. This makes me think they're not newcomers, but have existed longer than we thought." Mark stared at the screen, unable to take his eyes off the words that had just appeared. "So if they've been observing us for so long, what's their purpose? Are they preparing for an actual encounter?" Ethan hesitated. "We can't be sure of anything. Do they want to communicate with us peacefully, or is there another agenda?" These questions swarmed everyone's minds, but the biggest question remained: was their appearance truly an opportunity, or a threat to the survival of humanity? Sarah decided not to wait any longer. "We need to keep communicating with them. This might be the only way we can understand their true intentions." Dr. Lee agreed, but there was still a hint of concern in her eyes. "I agree. But we need to be prepared for any situation." As night fell, the research team continued their communication with the extraterrestrial signals. They not only tried to decode the signals, but also began sending their own messages. The first messages sent by humans to extraterrestrial beings were programmed with questions about peace, a shared future, and the relationship between the two civilizations. But would they receive an answer, and would the truth behind these signals change their lives forever? The team continued sending messages to the extraterrestrial beings, hoping for a clearer response about their purpose. But time passed with no response. The following days became an anxious and tiring wait as each team member tried to reanalyze the data, hoping to discover something important. Dr. Lee, feeling the need to search for another approach, proposed a bold idea. If we don't receive a response through conventional means, maybe we need to change our approach. Let's try sending a stronger signal, one that's not just an invitation but a challenge. Sarah asked nervously, do you think this will make them respond? But could we be playing a dangerous game? If we keep sending peaceful signals with no results, we'll never know their intentions. We need to try a new approach, Dr. Lee explained. The team agreed that they needed to take stronger steps to advance the communication. So, they decided to send a more powerful signal, with a higher frequency, containing strange and complex elements that were both a question and a challenge. As soon as the signal was sent, they noticed a sudden change on the screen. A new, quick, and accurate line of code appeared. We've received a response, Mark said, and everyone's gaze turned toward the screen. The new signal displayed a message that the research team had never seen before. It was a short yet cryptic reply, we have challenged you. You have passed. The team was shocked. They couldn't believe their eyes. What did this mean? Had these extraterrestrial beings truly tested human intelligence and creativity? Or was this a sign that they were preparing to enter a new phase in the relationship between the two civilizations? So, we've passed their test, Dr. Lee said, still in disbelief. This could open the door to a deeper dialogue. Ethan stared at the words on the screen. But the question is, did the challenge really end, or is this just the beginning? Mark nodded, still thinking. If we've passed this test, will they continue to pose other challenges? Can we be prepared for whatever comes next? Sarah looked at the group, trying to stay calm. What's important is that we've gained their approval. Now, what do we do next? During the meeting, the team realized that, although they had received positive feedback from the extraterrestrial beings, the conditions they faced were still vague and challenging. They still didn't know what the next challenges would be, and whether this relationship could develop in any particular direction. However, one thing was certain, this communication was not an end, but only the beginning of tests, discoveries, and decisions that could change everything. The research team had received a response from the extraterrestrial beings, and although their approval was a step forward, the members of the team still felt tense and uneasy. It seemed as though they were standing before a door that opened onto an unpredictable journey, where everything could change at any moment. A week later, a new signal appeared on the screen. This time, the signal had a distinct feature. It was not an answer but a question. Are you ready for the truth? This question left the entire research team confused. Sarah stared at the signal, unsure whether it was a warning or just another test. What does this mean? What are we supposed to prepare for? Dr. Lee answered seriously. This could be a signal that they want to take us into a deeper confrontation, a dialogue about truths we've never known. Mark, with concern on his face, began searching for clues in the previous signals. If they are asking us this, maybe they already know truths we haven't uncovered. They want to see if we're strong enough to face them. Ethan, as calm as ever, suggested, maybe we have no choice but to face the truth. If not, can we hope to continue communicating with them? Sarah nodded. Exactly. We've come too far to turn back. Let's prepare for what's coming. The team decided to continue studying and respond to this signal, not just as a question, but as a call to explore deeper mysteries, things they had never considered before. They could not turn back, and all they could do now was press forward. After responding to the signal, the research team continued waiting for a reply from the extraterrestrial beings. Time passed, and each day brought more tension. They didn't know what would happen next, but they clearly felt one thing. They could not turn back now. Finally, a new signal appeared on the screen. this time with a significant change in the code structure. It was an incredibly complex signal, containing messages encrypted at the highest level. The truth is something you've never known. You didn't know that you yourselves are the cause of all the disturbances in this universe. This message sent shockwaves through the team. The response was not only strange, but also a powerful warning. We are the cause. Mark exclaimed, feeling as though he had been blindsided. Dr. Lee, pale-faced, said, this could be a critique of humanity. Could we be the perpetrators of destruction, without even realizing it? Ethan couldn't hide his anxiety. We always thought of the universe as a place where we're just a tiny part. But now, it seems like we play a much more important role. Sarah felt her body shiver. If this is true, have we caused irreparable disasters? The team fell into deep thought. The words in the signal from the extraterrestrial beings seemed to indicate that humanity might be the cause of a cosmic crisis, a significant shift in the universe that they were unaware of. If this were true, then this journey wasn't just a meeting with a new civilization, but a confrontation with consequences that humans would have to face. Would these mysteries lead to a catastrophic end? Or would there be a way for humanity to rectify mistakes they couldn't foresee? Only time would answer this question.